if we go back to, we'll say, the quote unquote wake up call you mentioned about waking up in a train station in Germany, no wallet, no phone, like that realization, or it might perhaps have been a rock bottom state for you. What steps do you take to ensure that happens? And what support did you have around you?
The fun Gabe is the Gabe that is a bit goofy, that is a bit of a class clown, and then everyone would joke about it. And then there'll be all this remembering on the next day about the silly things that I was either saying or doing. So I felt there was also this expectation of me, and that made it harder to leave alcohol. I tried not drinking anything but beer. So quitting spirits. I tried quitting shots, so I don't do shots anymore. I tried beer and water, beer and water. I tried all these different elements to say, okay, now I will control it by creating these rules around it. But the problem is that the main issue was the first. After I had the first beer, I'll have the second, and then I start to feel loose. And after the third one, then I was already too loose in my head to not even think about drinking water, for example, as one of the rules that I invented. So it took me 10 years to understand that the substance of alcohol for me was not the right one. It was causing a lot of issues in my life, and it was making me a not present person. But it was really this internal process that happened, I would say 3 years ago, where I basically understood that, okay, this substance is not for me. The way I classify having an alcohol problem is, did alcohol ever influence something that you try to do in your life? Was it ever a problem for you to have your energy in the right place, to do work in the right way, etc.? And if I wanted to be active on a Monday, and if I can't because I drank too much over the weekend, this is an alcohol problem. If I want to eat healthy, but I can't because my mind is clouded because of alcohol, it's a problem. So it's all these little moments of, yeah, this is just not the norm. It shouldn't be the norm. I should be living a present life where every decision that I make is my own. If life is the party that you like the most, if you're not there, well, like, what is the point of this whole living thing? And I think this is what I try to share with my friends now. Is like, I just love life too much not to be there. And when I drink, I'm not there. It's just like my body going through it. So it's really about being present.
Yeah, presence and self-awareness or awareness were the kind of words that were coming to my mind. When you start thinking about cutting down or quitting alcohol, how did social pressure play a role in your decision?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think there's the part of your friends thinking that you can act exactly like them. So if they can handle their drinking well, they think that you can. And I think like having this honest conversation with my friends really helped me going through the process to say, hey, but for you it's different, right? This is what I'm going through. But there was a lot of projection as well, Podge, because I think I always felt this thing of, oh, my friends, they just want the party, Gabe. They just want this goofy that's gonna show up and get shots for everybody and be a bit random and whatnot. And I was projecting it so much that I was like finding it hard to let this part of me go, which is crazy, right? I see all the bad things of it, but then I feel like there's this social pressure that everyone wants me to drink. And then suddenly, and we're gonna talk about the journey in a bit, but when I really said like, guys, this is not for me, it's not doing well, this pressure didn't really exist. A lot of pressure that I was imposing myself. Having said that, I do see right nowadays people still like, sometimes they think like, oh, but why? They look a little bit funny to you. They want to ask why you don't drink, which is weird. It's more like for me, why do you drink versus why don't you drink? So there is still some pressure, I would say, but right now I'm so strong with my decision that it doesn't affect me. I was way more concerned about my close friends and family, but it was a lot of projection because they all want my well-being. And once they understood that for me, alcohol was really not the right substance, I think they all supported me through that journey.
Isn't that interesting? You almost build it up a bit too much in your head. Like you were saying, you were the fun Gabe, who's out buying shots. And if you take that away, it's almost like an identity. Like, who am I? Like, who will they think I am now? I think so often that is the case. We can build it up in our minds, but it's really nice to hear that you had a good support system around you when you were trying to make that change. How did fitness play a role in your journey towards a life of sobriety?
I would say fitness played a big role, mostly as a flag and then as a motivation system. So I can unpack that. Like, as a flag, I can share like many times in my life, I try to try to go to the gym, be more active. I always loved like playing like soccer as a kid, even though I wasn't too good at, but always having fun, play tennis in my childhood as well. So I was pretty active. And then as I enter my adult life, really drinking took away my energy and I stopped being active. So what I noticed is that when I started university, I was weighing, I think, 70 kilos. And then finishing university, I was like almost at 94. And I really let myself go, right? It's insane to think that in 4 years, you can really like gain so much weight. And I was really like eating and drinking a lot, a lot, a lot. So that came in the way of fitness. And then it was around 2021 where I decided, like, okay, I want to be fitter, I want to be healthier. I was still going through my drinking process. So basically, I started with a personal trainer in Brazil. I was stuck there for Corona. Then we done face to face. Then we started to do like online, and I was basically doing pods like almost every day. And as a flagging system, alcohol played a role because when I would drink, I would basically find excuses not to join the sessions with him, and I was trying to like push away, or I would join and feel like crap, feel really, really unwell and unfit as I was doing my training. And I was like, okay, I want to be healthy, but this thing is still here and I still like not making progress as I wanted. So I really felt like for a year doing personal training almost every day, I really didn't progress as much. So I would say through my fitness journey, that was a flag of like, okay, there's still something wrong. And then as I unlock a bit and move into my post sobriety phase, I just saw that all my progress at the gym, they paid off very, very quickly because I trimmed down very quickly after I stopped drinking, healthy eating. Then all the gains from the gym they're showing my clothes. I basically dropped from a waist 36 to a 29, and I basically had to buy all my jeans, buy all new clothes because it was just so rapid, the change. And gym then became a motivator. I was like, I never thought that I could look at my body and see like muscles and see my abs with some definition. I was like, well, what is this? What is this? I was like fascinated by it. So it became more like this carrot for me to pursue an even healthier life. And everyone asked me, like, my friends are like, Gabe, what did you do? There's half of you now. And I was like, well, I stopped drinking. Like, yeah, I ate healthy, I trained a lot. But the key element that I did was the alcohol because the alcohol was keeping me from having energy to train, was keeping me from like having the right mindset to eat healthy. And once I took that, I unlocked all this new lifestyle that I couldn't. So that for me was like one of the most fascinating and motivational elements.
Gabe, what's one thing you wish people would ask you actually about your journey, but they never do?
I think I would really like people asking me a bit on the why I don't drink, but not because these people normally ask, like, why don't you drink? But really asking, why don't I drink and how I have fun is the complement of it. More on the how than the why, I would say, as I reflect on it. The more I talk to people, I tell the kids' story, right? Like for me, that's very emblematic to say, as kids, we have no inhibitions, and then we bring all these inhibitions to our lives, and now we can rewire it and then go back to being as we were as kids. And I just wish people ask me how I have fun more because I think a lot of people still have the judgment of like, oh, don't drink. But if they don't see me in social situations, they just might think like, oh, but you live a more boring life or you don't have fun. But then people that are close to me, like my friends, my partner, family, they see how much fun I have, and then they understand that there is a how, right? So I would say the question would be like, how do you have fun? Which sounds very stupid in my head as I say it out loud, but like, how do you have fun without drinking? And I'm like, I am very happy to show you how. And I can tell the tale of our kids, just go back to your childhood and blah, blah, blah. And then also by example, I think that's why I see people around me drinking a little bit less because they see it's possible, right? I think I didn't know. I think that's the hook, Podge. I didn't know it was possible to have fun and not drink. And now I know. And that the more people can see this, I think it'll be more inspiring. I remember it happened 3 weeks ago. We're like dancing outside in this garden with my partner and a friend. And then people asked me like, oh, why are you drinking? I was like, I just had mate, like I just had tea and I'm really going for it. I'm having a good time. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, because they're wired to think that if you're having fun, you must be drunk or something. And that's not the case. And I want more people to see that.
Yeah, I love that. And you kind of mentioned about being a kid. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah, just don't do stuff to fit in. I feel like a lot of my decisions going into young adult life or as a teenager, I was like, oh, if people are doing this, I should do that. And I should have maybe checked in a little bit more. Obviously, with 16, you don't have this tools in your head, or you still like need to be this need of belonging, fitting in, etc. is pretty much present. But I wish I could just go back and say, hey, you're gonna be fine. If you look like the odd one now, 10 years from now, you're gonna be pretty fit. You're gonna look good. You're gonna have friends. You're gonna have fun, and it's gonna be just fine. Just hanging there with the social pressure a little bit. So yeah, I wish I could say those words.
How do you think young Gabe would have responded to that? Do you think that they would have accepted it or would it taken a bit of time to sink in?
Nah, tell this to a teenager, be like, okay, like you're coming with this boring adult spiel. I don't care about it. And that's why I don't regret my journey part, because I feel like I had to grow into it to now be confident enough to say, I don't drink it. And I really own it. 16 years ago, I couldn't own it. I don't think I was in that mental place. So it was really a journey. But I think the more we talk about it, then hopefully this journey will be a little bit shorter for people that are going through the same issues.
Yeah, there's definitely a self-assurance that comes with it as well, right? That you have to be confident and comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
And I'm just curious from my point of view, or from your point of view, is there anything that we have not discussed today that you feel is important to bring up?
I feel like really put everything in terms of my experience that I wanted to share. The last thing that I want to do in terms of like my experience in sharing is that if you're getting the signals, don't let life show you the rock bottom before you make a change. Because I feel like for me, that was the journey that I've been on. After, again, my breakup experience, I was really, really bad, drinking a lot, not being present. And I remember this episode where I was traveling and I really lost my phone in a hotel, like very confusing situation, like hurt myself. And I was like, okay, this is really it. And that's where I had my last drinking episode. So just be gentle with your bodies, be gentle with yourselves, and really listen. If there's like these little events and they're piling up and the trend is not looking positive, they're getting worse. Hangover from 1 day to 3 days, blackout from a few hours to many hours, like not being present, yada yada, not being healthy. Like get all the signals and let them tell you that that might not be the right direction. Because if you just reach rock bottom, for some might be a little bit painful, too hurtful. And that really what got me here, but it doesn't have to be like that for everyone. So I feel like that's the final kind of message that I want to put it out there.
Yeah, and I think if your story resonates with even one person and prevents them from, or helps them make a change before they get to rock bottom, I mean, this was a conversation more than worth having.